Hey guys, it's Brooke with SupertutorTV, and today we are going to talk about the new ACT. So I know what some of you are thinking, there's a new ACT? I thought the SAT was new, what the heck? But what some of you may not know is that the ACT is changing too. The ACT has committed to continuous improvement of the ACT test. So what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm going to go through some of the changes that have happened already, some of the changes that actually have been just implemented this year in 2016. Definitely stay tuned, we're gonna get to all of these fun and exciting new changes to the ACT. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is the new essay. Now, most of you probably know the essay has changed. It is the biggest, most obvious change to the test. And in fact, some people have said it's the only change, which isn't true, but it is the biggest change. The old essay was really dopey. And what ended up happening on the old essay is almost all these students, it was graded out of 12. A lot of students were getting an 8 out of 12, which was just like, it's an average essay. So here's what's happened with the new exam. An 8 now scales to about a 23 out of 36. 23 is the 83rd percentile on the essay. 23 is nowhere near the 83rd percentile on any other section of the exam. You might be getting a 32 overall on the exam and you might get a 23 on the essay, and it's actually not as low as it looks. So don't freak out. I have 2 blogs on my website that can help you navigate this new essay. I recommend you go and you check them out. We're gonna put a link over here right now to our How to Write the New ACT Essay video. Know that it's totally different. It's got like these 3 perspectives, and you've got to comment on these 3 perspectives and really have this insightful essay and complete this pretty complex task, I'm gonna be honest. So that's the first thing that's totally changed. Make sure you check out the changes and that you're aware of them. The next section that has changed is the science section. The way that the science section has changed is that it used to be 7 passages, and now, over the last year and a half, all of the science sections have only been 6 sections. The other thing that I've personally noticed about the science, and this is my subjective observation, it's not anything that the ACT people have officially announced, is that you're going to find a few more what I would call outside information questions or logical reasoning questions. And these type of questions are a little bit flummoxing because what happens is you read the question and you look at all the evidence and you go, oh my God, the evidence isn't here. Stay calm. This is normal. There should be probably 2 to 4 of these on the exam. On the old test, I usually found maybe 1 or 2 of these. Now I'm finding 3 to 4. I'm just gonna show you really quickly so you know what the heck I'm talking about, so you're not like, what is that tutor talking about? When the monarch butterflies use their stored lipids, the lipids must be broken down to produce energy-rich molecules that can be readily used by cells. Which of the following molecules is produced as a direct result of the breakdown of lipids? The answer to this question is nowhere in the passage, and there are no hints, and there are no clues. Okay, so I know the answer is ATP to this because I know the outside information that I would need to know. What do lipids break down into? That is an energy-rich molecule, it's ATP. But if you don't know that, you can use process of elimination. DNA, for example, you might know is our genetic code. That is not what lipids turn into, so we can get rid of that pretty fast. So if you kind of know what the other words are and you use a little process of elimination, a little brain power, you may be able to get to ATP even if you don't know the answer. And that's kind of the strategy that you're gonna have to take on these outside information questions. Use some logical reasoning, use process of elimination, and do the best you can. Next up is the math section. And in the math section, the ACT has officially announced that they're going to include more probability and statistics related content. All that means is that you have to be a little bit more responsible to know how to do these kind of problems. And what kind of problems are these? Well, these could be problems like this problem that I pulled up over here, which is like a probability problem that has like a little bar graph. There's also the kind of problems where it's like you're building a sandwich and there's like 2 kinds of bread and like 3 kinds of meat and 2 kinds of cheese. And then you have to figure out how many different sandwich combinations are there, right? So some words for you to check out. I'm gonna give you some keywords to Google if you need to learn these skills or brush up on them. Combinations, permutations, and arrangements. Those are 3 words to Google. Make sure you know how to do all those kind of problems. Combinations, permutations, and arrangements, and you should be in pretty good shape. So next, the changes to the reading section. All of the reading section passages now have at least 1 passage that's what we call a dual passage. The dual passage comes up almost universally in the humanities and social sciences passages, at least what I've seen so far. And here's what those look like. I'm just gonna pull one up for you. So as you can see, we have this like passage A by Ray Bradbury, passage B by Ray Bradbury. By the way, the dual passages aren't necessarily going to be both by the same person. And the way that it works is when you scroll down to the questions, we've got questions that are on the first passage, then we've got questions that are on the second passage, and finally, we've got questions that deal with both passages and force you to compare and contrast those 2 passages. It's not brain surgery, but if you're nervous about it or you think, oh my goodness, there's no way I'm gonna get enough practice on these dual passages, you can work on old SAT passages. If you dig around on the internet and type old SAT.pdf, you're gonna find some old SATs. They have a ton of these dual passage kind of rigmaroles, so you can use those for practice a little bit if you're scared of the dual passages and you can't get enough practice because these don't include any dual passages. The last way that the test has potentially changed for you is that it is now available as an online test. It's called the ACT online test. I know that's kind of misleading because it sounds like you could just take it from your computer anywhere, which is not the case. That's not how it works. The way that it works is any schools that are participating in the ACT district and state testing program may elect to, they don't have to, but they can elect to, give you the ACT on a computer. You might be able to find out if your school is one of those schools by talking to your guidance counselor or somebody at your school. Now, if I were you, I do not want to take this test on a computer because studies have shown that students read more slowly and less accurately when they read from a computer. ACT claims that they have not seen significant differences in scores from students who take it on a computer versus take it on paper, but I don't recommend it. I would definitely stick to paper if you can, because I think it's just a little bit easier to focus. You can interact with the text a little better. And if you're using study tips and study skills, like I'm teaching on the science exam where I'm telling you to like write down information and that's a way to a higher score, you can't use those techniques if you have to take it off a screen. But I just want you to be aware of it. So if you sit down to take your ACT at school and you're like, what the heck, I have to take it on a computer, you won't be totally shocked. So that's about it. I hope you guys liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're going to be prepping for the ACT, I highly recommend we have actually answer explanations for every single question of the practice test that reflects most of these changes that we're talking about. Again, those changes are not reflected in the practice tests in these books, but they are reflected in the 2015-2016 practice test, and they will be reflected in the 2016-2017 practice test when that gets released. So you can take those exams so that you can practice and be ready for this new crazy ACT test. Check out our other videos, go to SupertutorTV.com and subscribe to our mailing list so you can stay updated on all the awesome stuff we're doing here. And I will see all of you next time on Super Tutor TV. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.